You can't print 20,000 business cards and stand in front of that restaurant and hand them out for anywhere close to the pennies on the dollar that it's going to cost you to put a advertisement that the waitresses are going to put on the table or serve on the coffee cup or whatever the case may be. And it's constant exposure, and that's the bottom line.
People are tired of the noise. They just want real answers. Hi, I'm Jack Barros. Welcome to Voices on Main Street. Today I'm sitting down with Mark Caseau from Jamn Promotions out of Worcester, Massachusetts. He helps local businesses stay visible using everyday items people actually interact with, like placemats, menus, and drinkware. If you're trying to get your business in front of more local customers, this is a conversation that you'll want to hear. So let's jump in. Hey, Mark, welcome to Voices on Main Street.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
Awesome. Always good to see you, brother. All right. So our first segment is we call Pass the Mic. And it's one of our favorite traditions here on the show. Every guest doesn't just share their story, they leave behind a question for the next voice coming down Main Street. And it's also for you folks, because we want you to put your answer in the comment section. All right. So this next question was left for you by Joey Cabello from Victoria Realty in New Bedford, Mass. So here's the question Joe wanted to ask you, Mark, and that is, if you could go back and do something different in your business, what would it be?
Yeah, it's a loaded question, sort of. The reality is probably maybe figure out a way to structure a team a little different than what I did, grasping at straws as we grew. The biggest issue that we have in our game is the experience that's needed with people like myself, and we're working with the small business owners, trying to create a positive place for them to place their name and do some branding of their business so that they're getting the exposure that will help their business grow. Is sometimes the so-called sales aspect is lost because some reps are concerned only with the commission side of things. And the reality is, what I've learned over the years is if you go into this simply with the attitude of what can I do to help the business owner that I'm sitting with, forgetting completely about money, commissions, even what their ultimate cost is going to be, because you can get really creative sometimes if you can get them into a multi-advertising project. It's all about the customer, and that's what you have to focus on. And I think we lost sight of that a little bit at the beginning because we're striving so hard to find so-called salespeople out there. And we're not looking for salespeople. We're looking for consultants, people that can work with business owners to help them grow their business over the course of the time. And that's what's developed us into, some serious long-term clients that have stayed with us. And that's how we've managed to survive 19 years next month.
Awesome. Congratulations. That's great. So that's an interesting, and that's good for other business owners out there in serving your customers. In that, what I got out of that conversation is that you're not really salespeople; they're consultants helping us to build our businesses. So that's awesome. All right, and remember now, folks. Once again, this isn't just for our guests; it's also for you business owners that are out there, and for those of you that are not. How do you feel about that? We'd like uh, to hear your answers in the comments. Just drop it in because conversations like this are how we keep learning from each other here on Main Street. Okay, so now we're going to get to the meat and potatoes part of this show. Okay, we are here to, it's called People Are Asking. All right, and what it is, these are the real questions that people are typing into Google, they're asking Siri or Alexa, or even asking each other when they're trying to find something out. So instead of guessing, we go straight to someone who actually does this work every day. So, Mark, I'm going to throw 10 of these questions at you. You can give us the short answer first, like you're helping someone who just searched this 5 minutes ago. And then if you need to expand, or vice versa, we do want to get the sound bite, but a lot of times we as humans, when we answer a question, we're actually thinking while we're answering, and the answer can get very long. And we're going to be looking for short answers. All right, Mark, let's help some people out here. First question, a lot of local business owners are always looking for ways to get their name in front of more people. So my question is, what kind of businesses tend to benefit most from advertising on things like placemats, takeout menus, and pine glasses?
Predominantly contractors, of almost any variation. And then probably beyond that, the real estate, car guys, and insurance guys. Those are probably the top categories.
Interesting. Great. All right. So we also know that many small businesses struggle with getting consistent visibility in their community. So the question is, why can everyday items like restaurant placemats or drinkware actually be an effective way to advertise locally?
They're branding themselves out there, so it's repeat. What I always tell people is 20,000 placemats in a restaurant over the next 6 months. You can't print 20,000 business cards and stand in front of that restaurant and hand them out for anywhere close to the pennies on the dollar that it's going to cost you to put a advertisement that the waitresses are going to put on the table or serve on the coffee cup or whatever the case may be. And it's constant exposure. And that's the bottom line. It's branding your name. They might not always be looking for the, deck builder at the time that they're sitting there, but it's a topic of conversation for the people sitting there. And ultimately, if they decide that's something that they want to pursue in their home, the fact that they saw that name every single time they were in the restaurant over and over, that's what branding is going to do. It's going to bring the name right to the forefront.
So, awesome. All right. So a lot of business owners wonder when is the right time to start investing in advertising. So the question, I guess, is how does your business know when it's time to start doing local advertising instead of relying only on word of mouth?
In today's society, it's so transient. Um, Word of mouth is awesome because it's the best because people are patting you on the back. But the reality is that they need to start yesterday. They need to put their name out in front of people automatically. There's so much competition in today's world. Go to Google and you'll see 100 plumbers come up there. You need to be the one that makes yourself stand out in front of everybody else.
Interesting. All right. When I one thing that I realized, I worked with Mark and then doing this venue for a while, and I had a customer say to me, "Oh, well, everybody knows me, right?" But what happens is we have so much information in our head, and we're bombarded by so much information in every single day that while everybody knows you, they don't think of you. So the way that I find that with advertising, that's what keeps you fresh and top of mind so that people remember you when it's important. All right. Now, people are often curious, Mark, about how these partnerships with restaurants and venues actually work. So my question is, how do you work with local venues so that they can get items like placemats or mugs for free while businesses advertise them? For this more for the restaurants.
So the restaurant benefits because the business owner that's paying for the ads, they're essentially paying for the product that goes in there. So they're buying those little billboard ads that are going into the restaurant. And we do all the work. We do the graphics design, the printing, so on and so forth. Though we don't physically print them, we outsource them. And then we provide them to the restaurants at no charge so that they have a reason to use them over and over. And that's part of the agreement with them is they agree for 2 years, 3 years, whatever the time frame may be, to utilize just our product and the product with the advertisements. And then before that time period ends, we go back in and renew that because once they get free placemats or free coffee mugs, there's really no reason, unless you've done something far-fetched and stupid, that they would ever walk away from you. And that's how we've managed to go to over 100 restaurants, throughout Mass and Rhode Island. Is there is other competition, but the reality is you make yourself stand out from your own competition the same way. You do the job right and make it happen. And it's about customer service to the restaurants.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So there's one concern among many business owners, and is whether people actually notice these types of ads. So my question would be, what makes advertising on items that people are holding or looking at, like placemats or placards, different from traditional ads?
When you talk traditional ads, I mean, I often question with people, the billboard on Route 9, the ad that's in the newspaper that most people don't read anymore. ads on TV, that tends to be commercial time is when you get up and go to, visit the little boys' room or grab another snack or whatever the case may be. Even the reality of commercials in the Super Bowl, they spend $3.5 million for a 30-second spot. And it's the ladies of the house that are traditionally watching the Super Bowl commercials. The guys are still getting up. It's when you order your pizza or whatever the case may be. It's visibility. And that billboard on Route 9, you can't stop as you're buzzing down the highway and copy down a phone number or a website. So again, it really comes down to branding and whether or not they see that and have time to observe what's up there on the side of the highway versus running into the car that's beside them where they should have been watching the road and not the signs on the highway.
Basically, you have a captive audience, right? So they can't get it. They're not going to get up and throw the paper over there, right? It's in front of them.
Now, I have a friendly competitor that used to say that everybody that goes in there looks at his ads. He says, even when it's couples that, maybe deciding what they want to do with their choices around the house, he says, if the marriage is going good, they're in there talking and looking at what's down there because the wife's trying to convince them to do some new landscaping or put the deck on the back or put up a fence around the backyard or whatever the case may be. And he says if they're just going out to eat because he's trying to appease her and it's not a good night, then both of them have their heads buried in the placemat because they don't want to lift their head to talk to the person on the other side of the table. So he used to use that as a line in his sales process because he felt that 100% of the people that were inside a restaurant were guaranteed to be reading the ads. What I know is they don't all read the ads, but there's a lot of, especially if they have an opportunity to hang out at the restaurant, there's a lot of intermingling and a lot of opportunity to glance down and see what's there. And that branding is what consistently works over and over and over.
Awesome. Now, we also know that some business owners also like to be part of community publications. How do your magazines like Cruising and Cruising for Family Fun fit into the overall advertising options for local businesses?
The cool part with both of those is people automatically think Cruising magazine is just car guys. And it's not, because the reverse is that the guy that's out there showcasing his car, whether it's at a cruise event or a weekly cruise that he takes his vehicle to, the brides oftentimes are not part of that process. And what happens is that magazine, we list the future dates of other events that are coming up. We list the cruise nights that are available in and around all of Mass, a little bit of New Hampshire, Maine, Connecticut, as well as Rhode Island. There's lots of options for them to choose in terms of where to go. But inside of there, we've got everybody advertising. We have the local Worcester Red Sox that know that, the guy that owns the traditional classic car has got disposable income. So they're reaching out to them. So the pavers, the painters, the contractors, they're advertising inside of our magazine because they know they can reach out to that disposable income. And the event people, whether or not it's a Davis farmland that's advertised with us to a water country that's been in our books and so on, is they know that disposable income, the parents or the grandparents that own that car, they've got the extra cake to be able to spoil the family. So they're reaching out to everybody inside of that, not just the car guy that's taking his car there, but they're reaching out to the kids if they're glancing through the book, and they're reaching out to the bride, the sure, that is potentially glancing through that because she's kind of figuring, hey, I could really go for some nice landscaping on this place. You're going to go out there and hang out with the guys. How about you take care of my house for me?
Excellent. Excellent. Right. We know you've been in the business for, Jamn has been 19 years. That's amazing. And I know you did advertising before that. And so after working with these local advertisers, you probably see patterns. So my question is, what's one mistake small businesses often make when they try to advertise locally?
I'd say the biggest mistake they make is the one and done. You'll have somebody that they're the driveway guy, or they're the even the landscaper, or the deck builder that'll run a 4 month or a 6 month ad and feel like they didn't really get the response that they were hoping to get. Realize that branding is just that. It's putting their name in front of people. And then they choose to walk away from it instead of leaving it there. I've got a paver out of the Worcester area that he was doing different placemats in different areas. And he's like, well, I don't know if I should stay on this one. I don't know if I should keep that one, because he was looking for instant results out of his process. And I was like, you need to just let it run its course, because 6 months here, 4 months here doesn't necessarily mean that the people that are going to buy a new driveway or do some paving are going to actually ring the bell. You have to let it sit there for a little bit. And he opted to hang in there and leave his placemat. And the next time we got together, he was ecstatic. He's all this Lou Rock's had. I'm never going to let that baby go, because you convinced me I should hang in there. And then $31,000 job that I get a phone call on, halfway through that next run, that's going to make me a bunch of money off a $325 ad that's there forever. And, that's 100 times his profit in terms of that. And that's what these guys have to look at, is the that quick, oh, I tried it and I didn't get any results. How many people saw it? How many people are thinking of you? And then all of a sudden you're gone already. They're thinking you're gone. They're not thinking that you just decided not to do the math. They're thinking that you're gone. And the people that stay there consistently, then they're renewing during the off season to make sure they don't lose their spot in the mat and so on and so forth, because they're making sure they stay there. And that's what for the so-called salesperson in my game, that because there is commission involved, so that the real bottom line is they're looking to make an extra buck or two. The automatic guy that sees this and then starts renewing year after year after year, that's what makes the job fun. When you've got somebody that there's no question they're going to just keep buying. I mean, I've got so many customers now that, it's get together for breakfast, grab a coffee, and pick up a check and sign a contract, because all I have to do is let them know what's coming up. And they're like, when do you need a check by? Because that's what makes the job easy, because they know they're getting what they want, and it's exposure, and it's nonstop. And that's the name of the game.
Excellent. Excellent. And it kind of leads to my next question. We know there's a lot of myths about advertising, especially for small businesses. What would you say is one common misconception that business owners have about marketing or advertising in their local community?
The misconception is that because they buy an ad, they're going to become rich and famous. I mean, it kind of goes back to that one and done. You just have to give things time to put themselves in place. And it's like branding, that person that says everybody knows me. No, not everybody knows you. I don't care how good you are and how many pats on the back. Negative advertising travels fast, but positive advertising, trying to get people to talk positively about you, is tough to have, and tough to be able to get them to consistently do. And that's where business owners sometimes lose sight on the fact that they have to just be patient, let things grow. And if they're doing it right, it'll grow right. And that's the real bottom line, is if they're doing the right thing for their customers, they're not trying to price gauge them and, gouge them. And I had a paver one time admit to me that, he loved cash customers because he could put half an inch of blacktop down instead of an inch of blacktop, and they'd never know the difference because it looks pristine when you first walk away, and it starts cracking in a couple of years, and he's just going back and doing it again. And I was like, I can't believe that you're admitting that you're shortchanging the client. And he says that's what cash customers are about. I'm like, I'm shell shocked, and see this guy go out of business 4 or 5 years later. I wasn't surprised at all, because if you're cheating your customers, eventually it's going to catch up to you. You got to do what's right 100% of the time, and if you do what's right 100% of the time, eventually it's going to come back around. And that's the name of the game.
There you go. All right. I got one more for you. At the end of the day, a lot of business owners just want to stay top of mind with customers. But from your experience, Mark, why does consistent local visibility matter so much for small businesses that are trying to grow?
Part of it is because that local guy is doing just that. He's trying to stay local. Um, some of these guys obviously want to get as big as they can, but the reality is that um, they're a 1, 2, 3 person show a lot of times, and they're not going to expand all over Massachusetts in order to be able to gain what they want to do financially. So they've got to create that footing right in their backyard, and it's so huge to be able to create a really positive name in your backyard, because once you do, then that's you've accomplished what it is you're trying to do. I mean, that's the real bottom line is if you can't cover the state of Massachusetts if you're a 1, 2, 3 person show. These guys realize that. And some of them are very content to build locally and be satisfied with that because of the fact that there's so much competition in today's world. And I've seen it time and time again where somebody opens up the second and the third location and then realizes over the next several years that they can't duplicate themselves in that second or third location. That they get a count on their name to be the only thing that's being duplicated. And oftentimes they're closing down the third and the second and going back to a one shop address because it was them that built it, not just the name. It's the physical skill at whatever they do. And that's huge. That's really, really huge that people see that and the owners see that so that they can take that success rate right in the backyard.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, folks, boom. That's people are asking. Those are the real questions people are searching for when they're trying to figure this out. So if you're researching this right now, if you're a local business owner, hopefully these answers helped you to understand what to look for, what matters most. Now, if there's a question that we didn't cover today, drop it down in the comments or below or hit us up on social media. We may feature it in a future episode of Voices on Main Street. All right. So what we just covered basically are what people are asking when they're researching online. Now I want to kind of shift gears because we know that the right question at the right time can save someone a lot of frustration, money, and time. So this next segment is what I call what you should be asking. So when someone is looking to advertise their small business, what's a question that they should ask before they choose a provider? So before I spend my money on advertising, what should I ask that rep or that consulting about the advertising that maybe people don't think to ask?
People don't think to ask. Real good question. I don't know. That's kind of a strange question because
Maybe phrase it in a different manner in that I'm I'm a local business and I come and I think the questions that we usually ask, well, how much is it and how long does it last? What kind of results am I going to get? Is that all that I should ask? Is there something else that I should ask?
there's questions that evolve around the design of the ad and the size of the ad. We have our own internal graphics department, can build anybody's ad. We actually have got involved over the last couple of years doing logo designs for companies and creating business flyers and so on and so forth, so that our graphics department has kind of expanded the opportunities that they can offer to the new business. And that's probably the types of questions that there's more than just the physical ad. And even though cost is obviously one of their concerns, I think that's the scariest question that they want to ask because they're so used to seeing some of the other stuff that's out there and the fact that they get to drop $1,500, $2,500 a month. And, you're talking 3, 4, $500 over a 6 month period of time. That's a whole lot different. And I think that's an easy question to get past once they realize that pennies a day versus the fact that some things, like I've had people say, "Oh, I'm gonna try blah blah blah." I don't want to pick on what it is that they're choosing, that I think they're choosing wrong, but they obviously figured out that they chose wrong too, because 6 months or a year later, when their contract runs out, they're coming back to us because they realized that they spent $1,500 a month, and in 6 months they dropped $9,000 and got little to no results, and oftentimes less results than they were getting off of the placement. The only thing we can't offer is we don't obviously cover every restaurant. There are a couple of competitors out there in just about every town that we do business in that service restaurants that we don't service. And one of the things that has helped us grow efficiently is we don't step on toes when somebody else has got a placemat or a coffee mug in another restaurant, and we respect the fact that they're there, and all the power to them. It's not always the case with some of our competition, but we make sure that they know that their product is safe in and around us, because there's so much available. There's tons of restaurants to go choose from. We don't need to pick on the competition. So you do what's right. You give them the options in different restaurants. You make sure you know the info that they might not necessarily want to ask about, with things like demographics in terms of the ages that frequent the restaurant and stuff. Sometimes that's a little bit different, whether it's a breakfast place or whether it's a pub, even whether or not it gears towards the older, relaxed crowd versus the young, boisterous crowd.
All right. Thanks, Mark. That was great. And so, all right, folks. So we just covered the questions people are asking, the questions that people should be asking, which hopefully gives the folks watching a much clearer picture of what to look for. Now, before we keep the conversation, we're going to take a quick moment, thank one of the businesses that helps makes this show possible. So stay right there. We'll be back in just a moment. And after we come back, it's time for one of the most fun parts of the show. That's the local loop, which is our mystery wheel spin. And you want to stick around for that one. We'll spin the wheel and see what Mark lands on. We'll be back in a moment. All right. I just want to take a quick moment to tell you what makes Voices on Main Street different. If you're watching this episode, it's because you want real answers. And that's what Voices on Main Street is built around, asking the questions that people are already asking, whether they're typing it into Google, asking Alexa, Siri, or even your friends. These are the questions that matter before you spend your time, your money, or your trust. Every conversation you hear on this show is all about clarity, understanding how things really work straight from the people living and working right here in your community. And when you tune in, you're doing more than listening. You're helping shine a light on local voices, the local businesses, and local stories that deserve to be heard. So this conversation is helping you. Stick with us, and let's keep moving Main Street forward together. All right, back to the show. All right. Thanks for sticking with us, folks. Right now, we're going to switch gears. We're going to have a little bit of fun, but there's a purpose to it. Coming up now, we're going to have what we call the local loop. It's one spin, one landing. Whatever it hits, that's what we do. So there's 6 options on the wheel. That's the love drop. That's where it lands on there. Mike has something special for anyone that participates in his organization and buys an ad. The local lip, which is a shout out to a local business. The pro tip drop, we'll get a benefit of more benefit from Mark's expertise. Behind the biz is kind of how we got into it. Curveball Q is a random question that I make up on the spot. And we have the Voice on Main Street Family Push, where we ask you to take a social action to help build Mark's business. We keep it real, we keep it quick, and we make it useful. All right, here we go, folks. We're going to spin it. Where it lands, who knows? We will figure that out right now. It is going to be, oh, the local left. All right. So on local left, Mark is going to give us a shout out to a business that he has respect for in his local area. Who do you want to shout out today?
Today, I'm going to shout out to one of my restaurants. It's called the Boulevard Diner on Shrewsbury, Worcester. And not only because he's probably one of the most likable guys that I've ever met, so that makes it easy to work with, but he knows both sides of the coin. He appreciates the fact that we provide his placemats and his coffee mugs in there. He's one of the rare restaurants that no longer uses advertisements on his takeout menu. He actually pays a wholesale rate to have us produce them for him. So it shows another side of our business is we don't always have to have ads. We can create pricing that's cheaper than our competition and give them a sweet wholesale rate to produce those. But he also, even though we do coffee mugs with ads on them, he also produces coffee mugs with his diner car on there, with his infamous logo. Nothing could be sweeter than to eat at the Boulevard Diner or something to that effect since 1939, I think it is. But he buys coffee mugs from us that he produces and sells as souvenirs out of his restaurant there. But Mr. Jimmy George is a huge player with us from both sides of the coin. He even buys advertisements in the restaurant section of the Cruising magazine and the Family Fun magazine because unlike some magazines that have particulars and the centerfolds, our centerfold is the restaurant section where we showcase all the restaurants that we do business with. We don't showcase corporate places. We only showcase the restaurant that we do. But now that we service over 100 restaurants, there's a pretty good variety that's in there. And the cruising guys like to go out there and visit the various diners and so on and so forth that we have. So it's been a nice tool. And Jimmy's an awesome guy, and he'll come out and say hello if you ask for him when you're inside there, although he's a busy guy too. It's a family-run business. His daughters do some of the baking and the serving out in the front in the diner. It's a good old-fashioned diner car that's been on Shrewsbury Street for a lot of years. He's a fun place to visit, and the food is to die for. That makes it even easier. The food is
that's the point the folks want to hear. And I can testify it is good. I believe also it's 24 hours, isn't it?
He's 24 hours, only Thursday to Sunday.
The weekends. Okay. I know I used to, when I worked, I would go there to eat after work, and I was a DJ, so I was going at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thanks for that shout out.
Changed that, unfortunately. He was 7 days a week until COVID.
Yeah, COVID did a lot to a lot of us. All right, folks. So that is our shout out, the local lift. Our next section is a little something we call behind the mic. So we've talked about business. Let's talk about the human behind it. Because people don't hire a company, they hire a person. So let me ask you this. What do you love most about what you do?
The people.
The people.
That last example I used with Jimmy, the people. People that I deal with, whether or not it's clients or whether or not it's restaurant owners. There's so much fun in watching somebody grow, somebody that started. There's a guy called Big Dog Disposal down in the Bristol County area that the first time that I met him some 17, 18 years ago, I thought the building that he was using for his office was going to fall down if a stiff wind came. And the guy's got huge numbers of trucks out there and great big multi-door process where he now trucks asphalt and different stuff around New England, and he drives that 18-wheeler gig right inside of his facility now. It's just crazy. And I've watched him grow over the years. And, even though I didn't hang out with him, we ate a few times together at a couple of our restaurants. His social media pages I watched, with him going up to his sites up in New Hampshire with his snowmobiles and his boats. And, he became a very successful story. And that's the fun, is watching people like they can just do the right thing, take care of the customers, and grow. And some of the personalities of people, that make it fun to go there. I mean, guys like Ernie Hood, before he passed away, a real estate guy out of Marlboro that You know, I used to love to go to his office to hang out because it wasn't just business. You know, we'd always go grab lunch together, whose turn to buy, because he would provide leads. He would help me out. I would help him out. I'd always funnel people to him if I could in the Marlboro Hudson area as far as leads for house hunting and stuff. He was a great guy to deal with. And that's what makes this job fun. I can't trade the people, the experiences that have just made this well worth the while. I can get up every day knowing that as tough as the job is, at least I'm working with people I want to work with. And you know, if you're part of the occasional grumpy customer, you just get past it. But the reality is that most people that are trying to grow their business, they get the idea they got to be a little bit personality plus instead of personality negative.
Excellent. Excellent. So, all right, folks, that was the person behind the mic. And he's a people person, and Mark's a great person to talk to. And okay, so let's keep on moving, folks. Now we're going into one of those segments. You might remember this. It was time to make the donuts. And I don't know if it was the 80s or the 90s, but Dunkin' Donuts had a commercial where it showed the baker. Now we know the baker has to get up early in the morning, and it became an analogy for time to make money. And the goal here is to build a business, help Mark build his business, and also other local business owners in the area. So, what we're going to do, we're actually going to record three different versions of a short commercial for his business. Each one has a different style and a message. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read it, and I'm going to ask Mark to pick one right now that becomes a commercial that we'll use. But now the audience, you are watching right now, you get to help decide which commercial becomes the next official version. We want to know what resonates with you. So instead of us guessing, we're going to help him to pick one out. So there's going to be three options. Mark, if he has one of his own and wants to read it, or if he wants to read these after I'm done, that's great. All right, Mark, let's make some donuts. This is for option number one. And these are voiceover scripts, something you might hear on the radio. You may hear it on this show. You may see it in a video ad. All right. In three, two, one. You ever wonder how some local businesses seem to stay visible everywhere in town? One of the smartest ways in advertising is where people are already spending time: restaurants, bars, and cafes. Jamn Promotion helps local businesses place their ads on items customers actually look at. Things like placemats, takeout menus, pint glasses, and coffee mugs. It's advertising that lives right on the table where people eat, talk, and spend time together. If you want your business seen by local customers in Worcester County and throughout Massachusetts and Northern Rhode Island, learn more at jamnpromotions.com. Tell them you heard about here on Voices on Main Street. Okay, folks, that was option one. This is going to be option two. In three, two, one. For small businesses, staying visible in your community matters, but not every ad gets noticed. Jamn Promotion gives local businesses a different kind of visibility, advertising items that people hold, read, and look at while they're dining out. Placemat ads, takeout menus, drinkware, and more, all placed in restaurants and venues where your potential customers are already spending time. It's local advertising designed to keep your name in front of people consistently. To learn more about advertising opportunities, visit jamnpromotions.com. All right, folks, that was option two. One more here. In three, two, one. Think about the last time you sat down at a restaurant. You probably looked at the menu, the placemat, maybe even the class in front of you. Now imagine your business being right there. That's what Jamn Promotion helps local businesses do, placing advertising on everyday items in restaurants and venues across the community. It's simple. It's consistent visibility in places where people are relaxed, engaged, and they're paying attention. Now, if you're a business owner looking for a new way to stay top of mind locally, visit jamnpromotions.com to learn more. All righty. Now, it's your turn. Mark, which one did you like the best?
I'd say number two.
Number two. All right, folks. So Mark chose number two. Are you comfortable with that reading? Do you want us to read it again, or do you want to read it? No? Yes.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah. Would you like me to read it again? Would you like to read it? Or is that okay?
Yeah, you can read it again. I don't know if you can see it well enough. Read it.
All right. So we're going to read option two again. So remember now, folks, you want to jump down in the comments and cast your vote. Again, my pick option two. We're going to read it again for you. But your votes and the viewers will help decide which commercial becomes the next official one. All right. So here we go. We're going to read option two. In 3, 2, 1. For small businesses, staying visible in your community matters. Not every ad gets noticed. Jamn Promotions gives local businesses a different kind of visibility. Advertising on items people hold, read, and look at while they're dining out. Placemat ads, takeout menus, drinkware, and more, all placed in restaurants and venues where your potential customers are already spending time. It's local advertising designed to keep your name in front of people consistently. To learn more about advertising opportunities, visit jamnpromotions.com. All right, there we go, folks. So once again, make sure you drop in your uh, response in the comments below. Okay, moving right along. Our next segment is we call the pro tip drop. So Mike has already been sharing a tremendous amount of time and his expertise about advertising in local venues. All right. So what I want to do is well, we're going to pick your brain one more time. What's one practical pro tip that people can use when they're advertising their business, Mark?
Keep it simple. When they're figuring out what they want to say in the ad, if you make the ad too cluttered, tends to give people a reason to skip by it because they feel like they might be reading a book instead of, so you want, if you get a logo or a picture that's going to help jump off of the page, and keep the message as simple as you can so that that message can resonate in somebody's brain attached to your name. They're not going to remember a whole story behind it because people don't retain everything they read as it is. But if it's a simple message, that message will stay with the name. Better chance of that. And that's what I would suggest.
Awesome. All right, folks, we're going to move right along. Our next segment is the mic. So, what's the amazing family? This is where the guest gets to choose one. He can ask me a question, he can give a shout out to someone, or he can say something to the community. Mark, the microphone is yours. What would you like to say?
I I don't have a specific question for you. Clearly want to thank you for the opportunity that you gave us to sit down and discuss things here. I guess the biggest question, if I were to try to get specific, would be how you're going to try to make this grow in terms of voices on Main Street so that we all win the same way, too. That's kind of the goal. So, how do we help you increase the visibility of your podcast and the number of people that are listening and sharing it so that everybody wins?
That's a great one. The best way is, and it's probably the easiest way, is just to share the episode. By sharing the episode, it helps obviously our podcast, it helps our local business owners. But what one of the things the way I built the podcast is every week we have a new audience, right? So just by its very nature, our audience grows, right? Because now Mark's customers, people that Mark knows, and he shares this on his social media, or he shares this with his people, they're going to get to see the other 14 different shows that we have already recorded. So at the time that Mark and I are sitting down, there are 10 shows have been aired. We have 4 more that have been ready to either been recorded or are ready to be aired. And so the initially it's kind of like a snowball. We're starting out really small with our audience, but it's going to build. In a year from now, we're going to have over 50 episodes. Our singular goal is to have a voice in every city like this. So there's somebody giving a business owner the opportunity to talk about their business in a way that they never get that chance to. So, Mark, thank you for asking me that question, and we look forward to growing together. All right, so that was flip the mic, and Mark flipped it on me. Our next segment is called Using the Mic for Good. Good Voice on Main Street. We believe if you have a microphone, you have a responsibility to use it for good. So we form what we call Voices for the Voiceless. And what we like to do is we encourage you to take a moment and go online, go to Facebook, and find your local rescue and share a pet that needs a home. Maybe share their page, leave a comment. Any of that helps, right? Because the more we can get the word out, the better that shelter can do. And we know that they need money. If you can support them financially, that's great. But even a simple share, it is enough to help support their mission. All right, folks, that's using the mic, but good. Make sure, once again, the local animal shelter in your area, reach out to them, ask them what you can do to help. All right. Now, we started the show off with our Pass the Mic question. And so before we wrap up, it's our turn, or Mark's turn to pass that mic forward. Somewhere out there's another business owner about to sit in this chair. And I don't know what the question is, but I'm going to say to Mark is leave us one question, something real, technical, not really safe. It could be about anything in the world. We avoid politics and religion, but like a question either for business owners or for the viewing public that's here. So, what question do you have for our next guest, Mark?
I came in thinking that I was going to have a business owner that's been around 7+ years relate to how the craziness of COVID affected and changed their business. I think that's something that I see still day to day, even though we're putting that farther and farther in our rearview mirror. Created some dramatic changes in a lot of businesses, some of which never survived. And that's really what intrigues me is I think there's still a lot of room for people to still grow from that disastrous time. And I'm curious to those that have survived what they did to make that an easier transition.
How did they survive COVID?
Yeah, what did they do to manipulate their business plan? Because I think everybody's plan shifted dramatically, and I'm kind of curious. We've not only survived it but have grown since then. But what have other business owners done that they had to put into place that they never anticipated putting into place that was affected by the infamous COVID? Yeah.
Right. So you had it, folks. What did you do that changed your business? Maybe that you weren't even expecting based on COVID. All right. And I know that changed all of our lives in many, many different ways, folks. So for those of you in the audience, if you want to expand on that and give us your COVID, how did you survive COVID personally? Put it down there in the comments. Okay. All right, Voice on Main Street family. This is where we turn listening into action. You just heard Mark share his story and his expertise and about Jamn Promotion. Now it's your turn to help carry that voice a little bit further. So here's how you can support Jamn Promotions right now. You can like their comment, like their content. You can share this episode, follow their page. Now, the best way to show love specifically for Jamn Promotion or any business, if you've worked with them, leave a Google review. Tell people what your experience was like. There is no greater way for us as individuals to help a local business owner than leaving a Google review. It is just amazing. And that's how local businesses get found and they build trust. And that's how this community lifts each other up. We're powered by people, we share with purpose, we're amplified by AI. All right. Before we go, we want to first of all say thank you for those of you that stuck around and listened to a couple old guys talk. Hopefully, you got some great information out of that. If this conversation encouraged you to check out Jamn Promotions and do some advertising with them, I don't think you go wrong. But Mark has put something together special just for you. This is what we call our mystery gift. It's a small thank you for listening and supporting a local business. Mark, tell our viewers what that is and how they can get it.
For anybody that steps to the plate and participates with us and they specifically mention that you listened to the podcast and took it all the way to the end, obviously, because that's the only way you'd know about this. We've got an option in the Cruiser magazine where we will cross-list your advertisement in there. And I think that's a huge opportunity because that baby is given out in the restaurants we service. It's given out at cruise nights and car shows, and it's made available through the advertisers that advertise on there. So there's thousands and thousands of copies. Plus, we're now pushing that on an online version. We've relaunched our Cruising with Jamn website and are posting the magazine on a PDF version that's out there that gives people an option to gain some additional exposure that way as well. So I think it's a great opportunity, and we'll cross-reference your business out there at no additional charge for you.
Awesome. So folks, I don't know if you understood what he was saying. You purchase any ad in one of the hit restaurants, and they have over 100 restaurants.
Yep.
You get a bonus of getting listed in a Cruising magazine. That's phenomenal. So you just will expand your reach instantly from not only your local area, but now you're going to have exposure throughout the Jammin footprint, which is, again, over 100 restaurants in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. So that's an amazing opportunity. And you're putting in front of people that have a disposable income. That's the key. All right, folks. Really, thanks again from the bottom of my heart for joining us today. And Mark, thank you for sharing your story and your expertise. And we look forward to seeing more from you. Folks, have an amazing day. For more information, go on the website. We have our episodes. We also have a blog that has expert articles from each one of our guests that expands on that show. About a week after Mark's show airs, there'll be an article coming out that gives even more detail about his business and about small business advertising. So, Mark, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, my friend. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Pleasure as well.
All right, folks. Peace. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you this. Voices like the one you heard today don't happen by accident. They're powered by local businesses who believe in showing up for their community. If you're a business owner who wants to be seen, heard, and trusted right here on Main Street, sponsoring Voices on Main Street puts your message in front of an engaged local audience that actually listens. Our sponsors aren't interrupting the conversation. They're part of it. Your business gets aligned with real stories, real people, and real community impact. Again, if that sounds like the kind of visibility you want, reach out to us and let's talk about becoming a sponsor. Thanks for being part of the Voices on Main Street family, and we'll see you the next time.